Howard gets it in, but it's knocked away by Lexie Hull. Hull with the steal. And the Indiana Fever, beset by major injuries all year long, are on the doorstep of making the semifinals.
Picture this. You're having the worst shooting night of your career. Every shot you take feels cursed. The rim is rejecting you like a bad first date. Your team is down, the clock is ticking, and 40,000 screaming Atlanta fans want to send you home forever. Then, with 7 seconds left and your season hanging by a thread, the basketball gods give you one chance to become a legend. This is exactly what happened to Lexi Hull just minutes ago, and what she did next will be talked about for decades. Let's call this what it was, a gut check challenge that would make grown athletes cry. Win or go home. The Indiana Fever walked into Game 3 with 6 of their key players sitting on the injury report.
We've just been through so much this season, giving ourselves another chance in Game 3. Emotions are high.
This is a group that's confidence has really never wavered. This group has continued to show their heart, their character, night in and night out.
I think we all piggyback off each other within our group and our organization.
We've been in every kind of situation you can imagine, and we've been able to find ways to put ourselves in position to win, and this will be no different.
Somebody has to lose and somebody has to...
Still furious about the phantom calls that robbed them in Game 1, and facing the harsh reality that one mistake would end their season. Could they take that kind of heat and actually deliver when everything was stacked against them? What happened next proved that sometimes the most broken teams are the most dangerous. When Kelsey Mitchell went on the attack in those final minutes, when Aaliyah Boston refused to back down in the paint, and when Lexie Hull made the play that will define her entire career, they didn't just beat the Atlanta Dream. They announced to the basketball world that the Indiana Fever were back in the WNBA Semifinals for the first time.
You talked about the desperation before Game 2 on Tuesday. Just how does that carry over into tonight?
Well, I think anytime that you're a win or go home situation, there's desperation. And so it has to carry over. You know, we're in the same situation. Our back is against the wall. We got to come out and we've got to play with that sense of urgency. We've got to play with that hunger. We've got to value every single possession and every single opportunity.
2015. But here's the question that's going to haunt every team left in the playoffs. Was this just a one-time miracle, or the moment that cements the Fever's rise as a dynasty in the making? To understand what just happened, you need to know the weight this franchise has been carrying. Nearly 10 years. 10 years of playoff heartbreak, of watching other teams celebrate while they went home early, of fans wondering if they'd ever see their team make a real run again. That kind of drought doesn't just show up on a stat sheet. It lives in the hearts of everyone who bleeds Fever blue and gold. The last time Indiana advanced this far...
Now, this one on Lexie Hull got me riled up because this was early on in the game, and this was probably the best defense that Lexie could have played. If you watch this play here, Ryan Howard is going down. Lexie Hull's guarding her. Ryan goes behind her back. Lexie doesn't touch her because she's backpedaling the whole time. She has her hands straight up. Like, this is really good defense that Lexie played here.
Tamika Catchings was still the soul of the franchise. Natasha Howard was just a rookie trying to find her place. And Stephanie White was coaching her first stint with the team. That was 2015, and the WNBA was a completely different league. Fast forward to tonight, and Game 3 wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about history testing this organization.
Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals.
Driving to the foul line, and the paint lays it in. Sims crossover left to right, gets into the paint, layup, good.
Inside, Boston.
One more time, asking if they had what it takes to finally break through the ceiling that's been holding them down for a decade. But here's where the story gets absolutely insane. Walking into tonight's elimination game, the Fever were missing 6, count them, 6 of their rotation players. Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation everyone's been talking about, was in street clothes. Sophie Cunningham, their veteran leader, couldn't go. Sydney Carlson, Chloe BBY, Ari McDonald, Dyrus Dantas, all sitting on the bench watching their teammates fight for their playoff lives. That's not just depth missing from your roster. That's your entire identity as a basketball team stripped away piece by piece. Suddenly, this wasn't just another playoff game. This was win or go home with a skeleton crew that had to stretch every ounce of talent and chemistry they had left just to compete on the same court as a healthy Atlanta Dream Team. Nobody outside that Fever locker room was putting money on them. Vegas had them as massive underdogs. ESPN analysts were already talking about Atlanta's semifinal matchup. But sometimes, when the world counts you out completely, that becomes the most dangerous weapon you can have. The bitterness was still fresh from Game 1. Every single person in that Indiana organization remembered those phantom whistles, those momentum-killing calls that had no business being made in a playoff game, and that technical foul on their coach that sent the crowd into a frenzy. The players carried that anger into tonight, and instead of letting it destroy them, they turned it into rocket fuel. In the pregame interviews, you could see it in their eyes. Kelsey Mitchell had that calm, focused look of a veteran guard who knew she'd have to carry the scoring load. Aaliyah Boston spoke quietly, but there was a confidence radiating from her that felt contagious, like she was ready for whatever interior battle was waiting for her. They were walking into Gateway Center Arena knowing that nearly 4,000 Atlanta fans would be screaming for their heads, knowing that one bad quarter could end everything they'd worked for all season. But the Fever had already made their choice. When you're staring down a decade of frustration, 6 critical injuries, and the suffocating weight of everyone expecting you to fold, you can either let fear consume you or you can choose to fight. Indiana chose fight, and they were about to prove that individual moments of brilliance can rewrite an entire franchise's story. From the opening tip, Kelsey Mitchell became the heartbeat that kept Indiana alive. Atlanta knew exactly what they had to do. Crowd her every time she touched the ball, load up the paint, send help from every angle to make her life miserable. But
Attacking from the outside and now the inside. And Mitchell's been quiet for a while. Not anymore. Mitchell over to Boston. Again, the shot clock winding down. Mitchell, tough shot off the bounce to get around Jones.
2 steps behind the three-point line and the dribble handoff for Kelsey Mitchell.
Mitchell still found a way to pour in 24 points, with 19 of them coming in that crucial first half when the Fever needed someone to keep them afloat on enemy territory. What made it even more impressive was how she adapted when Atlanta took away her scoring lanes. She found teammates with perfect assists. She got her hands on steals. She did whatever it took to keep momentum.
Alicia just 4 of 16 from the floor in game 2. That's terrific. Paul into Boston. Beautiful read.
From slipping away completely. Her teammates fed off that energy, that absolute refusal to disappear when the lights got brightest. Mitchell was sending a message to everyone in that building. We're not going away quietly. Down in the paint, Aaliyah Boston was writing her own chapter of this incredible story. She was matched up against Bree Jones, who had...
For Atlanta has not been good. 40%. Maybe a little higher than that, 45.
Indiana electing not to call a timeout. Boston almost gave it away. Into Boston for the lead. She hits it. Indiana goes up.
Boston gets it. Mitchell is denied, but then Jordan Canada falls. Bree Jones almost gets it, but that's a second defender that's gone down, and Bree Jones...
Every physical advantage you could ask for. But Boston neutralized all of that with her basketball IQ, her positioning, and her understanding of how to get to her spots early. She finished with 14 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists, but those numbers don't even scratch the surface of what she meant.
Boston has to really body up with Bree Jones in that situation.
Tasha Howard slashing in. Now Sims got around the Ryan Howard reach to find Natasha Howard.
The court, Odyssey Sims has 7 points, 3 assists. She's looking to attack
this team. Every single rebound came in traffic. Every assist moved the ball to exactly where it needed to be in critical moments. For someone so young, she was showing the kind of poise that usually takes years to develop, anchoring an undersized, undermanned lineup and never once looking overwhelmed by the moment. The supporting cast stepped up in ways that will give you chills. Natasha Howard was everywhere, diving for loose balls that had no business ending up
Complete skill set in all that she can do.
It's the first miss for Atlanta as Howard could not get it to go. Odyssey Sims, this is what head coach Stephanie White wants from Odyssey. Ray with 10 points so far. Sims dribbled right into trouble and was able to score and get fouled.
Indiana hands, using her length and energy to create extra possessions out of thin air. Odyssey Sims brought a different kind of aggression, attacking Atlanta defenders straight up, absorbing contact, knowing that every drive into the lane had the potential to swing momentum. 16 points and 8 assists from someone who hadn't even been with the team all season. That's not just skill, that's leadership manifesting in real time. Brianna Turner might not have been in the regular rotation.
Posting up, setting a screen ultimately that Shea Penny ran into.
Anytime Atlanta needs a bucket, they look to her, and she's wanting the ball as well with the last score for Atlanta.
All year. But tonight, she was absolutely indispensable. Blocking lanes, contesting shots, reading plays before they developed, giving the Fever the kind of defensive backbone they needed when fatigue started setting in. She's the kind of professional who stays ready for moments exactly like this, and her selflessness allowed everyone else to shine. Even Aerial Powers, in her limited minutes, changed the entire energy of the game, diving on the floor, fighting through screens.
Another one of the signees because of injuries in the game. As we approach a minute to go, Aerial Powers in.
The bench.
All the injured players to not just cheerlead, but also to give advice to all the newbies. Big block by Powers.
Good help side by Aerial Powers.
Injecting pace into possessions that were starting to drag. She made her teammates raise their level just by the way she carried herself. And you could see the bench getting more animated, the defense communicating louder, the momentum becoming less fragile when she was on the court. Possession by possession, Indiana clawed their way back into this game. Gateway Center Arena was deafening, the kind of hostile environment that can break inexperienced teams. But the Fever matched that noise with pure focus and determination. They weren't surviving on one superstar performance. They were piecing together heart, playmaking, defense, and grit from every single player who stepped on that court. As the fourth quarter wound down, and it became clear this was going to come down to individual plays, the stage was set for the most unlikely hero imaginable. Lexi Hull was having a nightmare. This is the kind of shooting night that haunts players for months, where every open look you get feels cursed, where jumpers that usually fall are hitting the front iron and bouncing away like they're running from you. You could see her fighting the frustration, trying not to let it show. But for someone whose entire identity is built on knocking down shots and spacing the floor, it had to feel like the court was shrinking around her. But here's what separated Hull from
26% in the first two games.
Good help by Alicia Gray there on Howard.
Hull?
players who let bad nights define them. She never stopped playing hard on the defensive end. She never stopped moving. She never stopped believing that one moment could change everything. With under 30 seconds left, the Fever were trailing by 1 point. The tension in that building was suffocating. That's when Kelsey Mitchell made her move, cutting to the basket with that explosive first step and finishing a beautiful layup off an assist from Aaliyah Boston. One possession game. Atlanta struck back immediately, but Indiana refused to break. On the next trick down court, after the ball swung around the perimeter,
A high ball screen has worked for Kelsey Mitchell, but that time she gives it up to Hull. And how about that shot by Lexi
Hull got another open look, and this time she buried it. The three-pointer wasn't just a basket. It was a breath of life for her entire team. It was redemption for every missed shot earlier in the game. It was hope carrying them into those final seconds. But the game was nowhere near over. Atlanta had the ball with 7.4 seconds left. Their season on the line. One clean possession away from potentially stealing everything Indiana had worked for. Everyone in that building expected the ball to find safe hands, expected the dream to get a clean look, expected this comeback story to end in heartbreak.
Howard gets it in, but it's knocked away by Lexie Hull. Hull with the steal. And the Indiana Fever, beset by major injuries all year long, are on the doorstep of making the semifinals.
Lexi Hull had different plans. She read her defender's eyes, anticipated the passing angle, and in one split second that will be replayed for years, she lunged forward with zero hesitation and snatched the ball clean out of the air. Not a deflection, not a lucky bounce. A perfect game-saving steal that turned a potential Atlanta victory into Indiana's ticket to the semifinals. That single play changed everything. The Fever weren't just hoping to survive anymore. They were headed to the WNBA Semifinals for the first time since 2015. Odyssey Sims added the final free throw to seal it. But Lexie Hull's steal was the moment that will be talked about forever. What looked like the worst shooting night of her career became the defining moment of her entire basketball journey. Hull's steal.
Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals of the WNBA for the first time in 10 years. Kelsey Mitchell said, all that we've got, and we have all that we need. Cobbling together this roster, and here they are, about to be in the Final Four.
What you thought was impossible is possible. A team that has been devastated by injury, rallying on the road. One more time.
It wasn't just about basketball instincts. It embodied everything this Indiana team represents. No excuses, no matter how much you're struggling. You might not score. You might fight through frustration all night long, but when your team needs you most, you find a way to deliver. After that final buzzer, the Indiana Fever locker room looked like 10 years of pain and frustration had finally been lifted off everyone's shoulders. Players who had carried the weight of losing seasons were smiling like kids again. Kelsey Mitchell was one of the first to grab her teammates, unable to hide the relief and pure joy on her face. Aaliyah Boston sat quietly with tears in her eyes, feeling the full weight of history hitting her all at once.
And their minutes carried the kind of value that shifts entire seasons.
Y'all are a tough bunch of. I mean, I cannot even put into words how proud I am. It's like the toughness that it takes, like the gut checks that it takes. Like, y'all, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we've been through all of it, right? Yeah. So it doesn't matter the circumstance, it doesn't matter the score, it doesn't matter the time. You always put your best foot forward. You always get to the next play. And it's always someone.
And Lexi Hull, the same player who had struggled all night long, was clutching the game ball like it was made of gold, showing it proudly to every camera she could find. Even Caitlin Clark, despite watching from the bench in street clothes, had spent the entire night on her feet, waving towels, yelling encouragement, pouring her heart into every possession. After the game, she posted on social media in all caps. Fever show with heart emojis and team colors flying everywhere. But reality kicked in quickly. Head coach Stephanie White made sure everyone understood this was just step one. Waiting for them in the semifinals are the Las Vegas Aces. Aya Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, and a championship roster with the kind of depth that can punish every mistake you make. Aces coach Becky Hammond didn't make it any easier, sending a warning shot by saying they haven't seen the real Aces yet. Indiana knows exactly what's waiting for them. They survived 6 injuries, questionable officiating, and elimination pressure that would have broken most teams. Now comes the ultimate test, facing the standard that every WNBA...
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were at a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what, we'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
Team measures themselves against. Tonight's victory was more than just advancing to the next round. It felt like the rebirth of a franchise that had been chasing one playoff series win for almost an entire decade. The Fever proved that toughness, belief, and refusing to accept defeat can push you through obstacles that should have destroyed you completely. Now, they head to Las Vegas to face the Aces, knowing that Becky Hammond's team is confident they haven't shown their true power yet. But for tonight, for this moment, Indiana proved that faith, fight, and resilience can carry a team straight into basketball history. The 10-year wait is finally over, and the Indiana Fever are back where they belong.